You want to die tonight?
You are now listening to Home of Halloween's You Run podcast, the horror movie review podcast run and controlled by you, our listeners. I'm Scott, and I'll be your host each week as I take you through the movies you've chosen for me to review. Now, let's find out what I'll be reviewing this week.
Groovy.
It was acceptable in the 80s week. Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. My review, then later joined by Heather Silman of Wednesday Wine and Horror Podcast. Oh my fucking God, you need to hold on tight and strap in. This is going to be one hell of a ride.
"4 years ago, in this quiet forest, in this cozy cabin, something happened. Something so frightening. Something so deadly. Something so evil. We prayed it would never happen again. Now, from the creator of Evil Dead, comes Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.
Let's kick this review off with some scores. Evil Dead for Fear, it's not that scary. It's got some good elements of gore in it. It's got some creepy bits, a couple of bits that will make you jump, but you're not going to be cowering behind a sofa watching this. You're genuinely not going to be scared. Out of 5, I'm going to give this a 2. It's got some good horror elements in there, but it's by no means a scary film. For the movie itself, this scores a 9. It doesn't score a perfect 10, and I'll explain why later, but it's fucking close. It's as close as this can get to a 10 without achieving a 10. Let me give you a little rundown of The Evil Dead 2 if you've not seen it before. So it starts with Ash taking Linda on a romantic break to an abandoned cabin. That in itself is a fucking dumb idea. Who would ever take someone to an abandoned cabin? Yeah, go get a log cabin in the woods, but an abandoned cabin? Come on, that's not a romantic getaway. If I suggested that to Lisa, I'm pretty sure she would tell me where to go. Anyway, so it starts off with them in the car, and you get them coming across a bridge with a sunset behind it. The bridge is the most tacky, cheap, cardboard cutout with a Matchbox toy being dragged over it prop ever. But it's so good. I absolutely loved it. It was so good. They arrive at the cabin. When they arrive, they're messing around and having a bit of fun. And Ash comes across some tapes that have been left by the previous occupant, Raymond Nolby. He starts playing them, and the tapes recite the words from the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead. This causes an entity to be summoned, and you see from the entity's point of view as it comes through the cabin, and it attacks and kills Linda and then possesses her. This leads on to Linda attacking Ash. Ash then proceeding to decapitate her with a shovel and bury her outside the cabin. We are 6 minutes into the movie at this point. The pace of this film is insanely fast. The best way I could describe this is when Sam Raimi decided what he was doing. He pretty much grabs you by the scruff of the neck, drags you through this film and goes, look at that, 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 and then throws you out the other side. It's such a wild run through this film. So we're 6 minutes in. We've had a evil entity has been summoned. We've had a death and a possession and another death with a beheading and a burial at 6 minutes. I don't think there's any other horror movie that can do that. I genuinely don't. At dawn, the evil force attacks again, and it ends up throwing Ash into the forest where Ash is now possessed. He wakes up as Demon Ash, and his possession is broken by the sun rising. So the sun hits him and his possession leaves him. With this, he makes a very good decision. He decides to get the fuck out of there. So he rushes back, gets his car, and shoots off to the bridge. When he gets to the cardboard cutout, shockingly shit but amazingly great bridge, it's out, it's gone, it's broken. Which then he gets chased back to the cabin by the evil entity again. He gets in and locks the doors. This leads to his second encounter with Linda. Linda, now resurrected from her hole, introduces herself again as a dancing claymation figure, performing pretty much a pole dance on a tree. It ends up with her getting in the house and she bites Ash's hand. Ash then takes her decapitated head to the woodshed where he is about to kill it and gets attacked by her headless body holding a chainsaw. We're now about 20 minutes in, to just keep you in the loop of how fast this moves. So after dispatching Linda, Ash goes back into the house or back into the cabin, and where he's been bitten on his hand is now possessed. And he proceeds to have a fight with his own hand, removing it with a chainsaw, putting it under a bin and putting some books on top of the bin to stop it escaping. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, Nolby's daughter and her assistant Ed have returned from a dig with missing pages from the Necronomicon, and they're heading to the cabin to meet up with her father. When they get to the bridge, it's out, so they enlist the help of the locals, should we call them? They're just terrible characters, but they're done so well. So they enlist the help of Jake and Bobby Joe, who show them a back route and hike them up to the cabin. When they arrive at the cabin, they viciously attack Ash and throw him in the cellar, assuming that he's killed Nolby and his wife, Henrietta. From here, the four new arrivals, so Jake and Bobby Joe and Nolby's daughter and her assistant Ed, start playing the tapes left by Nolby. On the tapes, Nolby says how Henrietta's become possessed by an evil force and he's killed her and buried her in the cellar. From this point, the movie accelerates in pace. I know that sounds insane, but it genuinely does. And it accelerates so much, and so much happens in such a condensed space of time, that if I was to give you a play-by-play synopsis, this episode would be by far the longest episode I've ever done. I'm going to give you a brief rundown, pretty much bullet point out what happens, to give you an idea of how nuts this movie is. So from here, all hell breaks loose. Henrietta comes back in the cellar. She comes back to life. She's now a possessed demon. She possesses Ed. Ed is then dismembered by Ash with an axe. Bobby Joe is dragged to her death by one of the rape trees from the first one and killed. Jake throws the pages of the Necronomicon into the cellar while trying to convince everyone to go and look for Bobby Joe. Ash is possessed again. Jake is killed by Henrietta when he goes too close to the cellar door. Ash returns to normal. Following this, they go to the tool shed. There's a fact about that, I'll tell you later. I'm not the only one who had issues saying tool shed. They strap a chainsaw to the stump where Ash's hand used to be, and then go to the cellar to retrieve the pages of the Necronomicon. After they've retrieved them, Nolby's daughter starts reciting the words from the page. from the Necronomicon. Trees attack the cabin, grab hold of Ash, and a battle ensues. While she's reading from the book, a portal opens, sucks Ash and his Oldsmobile in, along with the evil demons, and Ash wakes up in 1300 AD. End of the movie. Now, I said that The Evil Dead 2 didn't score a perfect 10, and I said I'd explain why. And it's the most petty, stupid reason ever why, so I apologise. I know that this is so loved and it's such a cult classic, and I am literally nitpicking. The one point it lost was for the claymation dancing, pole dancing, tree dancing Linda. It just took me so out of it. It was kind of, I was really in it, and then just for that 30-second scene, I was like, and that's all it was. And it's such a minuscule part of the movie, and the movie is so great, but just that one bit lost it a point. And I am really, really, really fucking nitpicking. So I apologise to everyone, and to my guest who's on later, who's 100% scoring this top marks across the board. The Evil Dead is a fantastic movie. The Evil Dead 2 is an even better movie. You have to see this film. If you've not seen it, add it to whatever watch list you've got. Go and buy a proper copy of it and watch it on DVD. This is a must-see for any horror fan, and if you've not seen it, where have you been hiding? Go and watch it right now. That's what I've got to say on The Evil Dead 2. I think it's time we find out what you've got to say about The Evil Dead 2. If you're planning a romantic or dirty getaway to an abandoned cabin deep in the woods, then I suggest you go to ilovefancydress.com before you go. Pick out all of your amazing cosplay items to make your weekend as fun and roleplay as you can possibly get it. After all, if you're a man, last time you checked, you need to do this. And to make it even better, I'm going to give you 10% off with discount code HOHSALE at checkout. Here's this week's 3-word reviews for The Evil Dead 2. Haunted Dermotts, Evil Dead 2. Tabbwho 99, a groovy good time. And Warp Jester 222, absolutely fucking groovy. Thank you to all 3 of our 3-word reviewers this week. Haunted Dermotts is a family of haunters who share everything horror and Halloween related through Instagram and YouTube. Tabbwho 99 has got a really varied account with lots of horror stuff and other movie stuff, and just generally a great account to follow. And then Warp Jester is a vocalist for Synaptic and Thangram, who are both thrash metal bands. Thank you very much to all 3 of our 3-word reviewers. All of them hit it nail on the head, because there is no better way to describe this than groovy and Evil Dead 2. That is this movie in a perfect ball. It is the fucking Evil Dead 2, and it is absolutely fucking groovy, and you have a groovy good time when you watch this movie. Thank you to all 3, and that was this week's 3-word reviews. I love the facts for The Evil Dead 2 almost as much as I love the movie The Evil Dead 2. When Sam Raimi tried to get The Evil Dead 2 made, no film studio really wanted it. That there was a lot of no, maybe not, and it was all due to no one had the balls to put their name to it. Basically, they struggled so much. Eventually, they reached a solution. So Stephen King was a huge fan of The Evil Dead. What he'd done is he convinced Dino De Laurentiis to finance The Evil Dead 2. Now, this led to another problem. Laurentiis, due to some legal issues, couldn't make an unrated movie. So what they come up with was the idea of effectively a fake shell company called Rosebud. So when you watch the opening credits, you'll see Rosebud Production Company come up. That's a completely fictitious company. It was made purely as a loophole to be able to make this movie. So before they even reached the set and filming, it already had insane shit going on. This movie introduced a new style of filming. So they had a fairly healthy budget, but they didn't have money to spend on big expensive rigs and other things. So as you find with most low budget movies, they come up with the most inventive ideas to give you the most wonderful effects. So the effect you've got of the camera that plays the entity or the demon, as it comes through the forest, you get this camera wobbling and looking everywhere effect. And how they achieved that was not with a fancy rig. They got a big bit of flexible ply. They bolted the camera to the centre of that ply, bolted 4 straps, 1 to each corner. They lifted it up and they literally physically ran through the forest with that camera on it. And that bouncing around effect is just what happens when you run with a camera on a wobbly board. But that effect, I don't think, can be topped. It's so well done that camera shot is almost like a character of its own. That it takes on such a life, and it's fantastic. When Ash cuts his hand off with the chainsaw and he puts it under the bucket, there's a gag in there. He slams down a big chunk of books. Top book on the pile is Ernest Hemingway, A Farewell to Arms, which cracked me up because I forgot it was in there. Talking of Ash's severed hand, the battle Ash has with his possessed hand before he severs it was completely improvised. He was given very little direction. The scope he was given was pretty much go fight your hand. And what he delivered was cheesy, it was tacky, it was over the top, but my God, it works so well. A lot of people shit on Bruce Campbell for his acting, and I'm sorry, you're all wrong. Yes, he is tacky. Yes, he is cheesy, but my God, he's so good at doing it. There's no one else who can deliver the way he delivers that part. And I'll argue with anyone for hours if they disagree. Speaking of Bruce Campbell's acting, I mentioned earlier that there was a joke about Toolshed. So the word Toolshed is dubbed in to the movie because when they recorded it didn't come out very clear. But when you watch it, it sounds really unnatural and it's not in the right... It doesn't seem like it's in the right place. It sounds like someone has just dubbed over Toolshed. When Bruce Campbell met Kurt Russell, Kurt Russell's first words to him were apparently Toolshed, which I thought was great. Freddy Krueger's glove can be seen hanging in the toolshed. And then again in the cellar when Ash is looking for the pages of the Necronomicon. There's a big love story of nods to each other between Wes Craven and Sam Raimi. This was released or filmed around the same sort of time as Dream Warriors was filmed. And allegedly the glove from Dream Warriors went missing from the set. So the rumour is that the glove that appeared in The Evil Dead was actually the one that was stolen from Dream Warriors. I don't know how true that is, but that's the rumour. I've got a game for you to play now. When you watch a Sam Raimi movie, you need to look out for his Oldsmobile Delta 88. So this was Sam Raimi's first ever car. He has put this in every single movie he has done. Every single one, without exception. It's in Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, Darkman, The Quick and the Dead, A Simple Plan, Crime Wave, Drag Me to Hell. And they're all the ones that you think it could fit in. It's also in the 3 Spider-Man movies he directed. It's in Oz the Great and Powerful. It's literally everywhere. But it's not always in your face. It's subtle. So that's my game for you to play, is to, when you watch a Sam Raimi movie, find the Oldsmobile Delta 88. On money, this film was not a huge financial success. It had a $3.5 million budget and it grossed $10.9 million. It made money, but it was no way a blockbuster. But this was a roaring success for everybody involved. This, as far as I'm concerned, cemented Raimi as the man to go to. Because from this film onwards, everything was bigger budgets, more money, bigger cast, better money. This was the film that propelled him to greatness. And that alone, money is irrelevant. That's worth the films he's brought us since The Evil Dead. It's phenomenal that a film that wasn't that successful went on to spawn so much more and propelled Sam Raimi's career to heights that well, we all know what he's done since. And that's my facts on The Evil Dead 2. Did you have to hike through the woods to get to your abandoned cabin? Shame on you. You should have gone to shockwheelz.com and used checkout code HOHSALE to get £25 off your electric scooter. Then you wouldn't have had to walk anywhere at all. Idiots. Now, before you need to buckle up real tight for Heather, The Evil Dead has spawned a franchise like no one ever thought it would. So we had The Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, more recently Ash versus the Evil Dead, which I fucking love that show. And now they're in the works is The Evil Dead Rise. But The Evil Dead has spawned something that I never thought it would, which if you're a gamer, you will definitely want to know about this. So here is the trailer for the Evil Dead game.
Hola, cyber friends. I'm Bruce Campbell. You know me as Ash Williams, the dude who saved the world from evil. I'm here to bring you the lowdown on the upcoming Evil Dead, the game. You and your friends will team up as classic Evil Dead heroes to live the nightmare. You'll use savage finishing moves or tear evil a new one. Or, if you're not into the whole save the world thing, we have another option. You can play as the vile Kandarian demon itself. But who would want to do that? He'd be a dick. With the power of possession in your arsenal, you'll scare those goody two-shoes to death. Literally, you can do that if you're a dick. Whether you choose the path of evil or righteousness, you'll be throwing down in places you've seen before. You'll collect pages of the Necronomicon, uncover Nobi's lost tapes, and track down other legendary artifacts. When you've grabbed enough, you'll use a spell to send the Kandarian son of a bitch back to the hellhole it came from. Soon you'll experience the horror yourself, but for now I'll leave you with this thought. It was no accident that Ash always wore brown pants.
Oh, I'm so excited. Not many people know this about me because I don't really share it on the podcast. I'm not a big gamer, but I do love certain games. There's some games that I just get absolutely hooked on. One was Dead by Daylight, and looking at the Evil Dead game, it is Dead by Daylight, but with Evil Dead characters and a bit more of a story, and I'm so in for that. Anyway, that's enough about video games. I'm about to introduce my guest for the show. So my guest today is, as I said at the beginning, Heather Silman of the Wednesday Wine and Horror podcast. If you've not listened to any of Heather's shows, you have no idea what you're about to be in for. Heather is filled with so many stories, so much information, and The Evil Dead is that's her holy grail of movies. The Evil Dead 2 in particular. Heather is without a shadow of a doubt going to run roughshod over me. She's going to take control of the show and she's going to show you how it should be done. So without any further ado, here is my guest, the host of Wednesday Wine and Horror podcast, Heather Silman.
It's not as if she were a maniac, a raving thing. She just goes a little mad sometimes. We all go a little mad sometimes. Haven't you? Did you know I'm utterly insane? Utterly insane.
Don't explain the movies! Movies don't create psychos! Movies make psychos more creative!
Like scary movies.
Hi, Heather. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Scott. Thank you so much for having me on. This is going to be a fun episode.
It definitely is. So you chose the movie this week,
Mm-hmm.
and you selected The Evil Dead 2.
Yes, of course
So-
I did.
Obviously, I know from listening to your podcast that you love The Evil Dead, and you love The Evil Dead 2 in particular.
Yes.
Why did you choose it? What is it about The Evil Dead that appeals to you so much?
Okay, so I won't go on a tangent or a rant about it because I could literally talk about this all day long. And there's a big consensus with people that are either Evil Dead fans or they absolutely think the movie's garbage. I get it. It's slapstick. It's 80s. It's extremely B, a B-rated movie or a B-titled movie. But when I was about 15, I was dating a guy at the time, and his family owned a haunted house. And so they were really into horror, which I was always into horror, but I had never seen the original Evil Dead. And so he put it on. And as soon as I saw Bruce and as soon as I watched this movie, I was just captivated. I was like, why have I never seen this ever? And
See-
then, of course, I watched part 2 and then Army of Darkness, which I'm not a huge fan of the Army of Darkness, but again, that's kind of an opinionated thing. So
Yeah, Army of Darkness for me is kind of a guilty pleasure movie. I like it
It
because
is.
they took it so much further beyond the realms of even being horror. It just become almost pure comedy.
It was.
Army of Darkness for me is one that I can kind of sit there with it in the background, and every now and then it'll get a laugh from me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I own the entire set, the trilogy set of, Evil Dead 1, 2, Army of Darkness. And I even have the remake of the Evil Dead, which I absolutely love just as well. But also, like I said, when I saw it, I saw Bruce Campbell. And for some reason, I became super obsessed with Bruce. He is just, I love him. And I was 15 at the time, so I'm 38 now. And I said to myself, one day, I was like, one day I'm going to meet this man. I'm going to meet him. And I have gotten to meet him 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Yes, at different cons. I even got to dance on top of a bar with him whenever he was doing the Ash versus Evil Dead premiere. I was in Austin, Texas at the time on my honeymoon, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, right? My husband took me to meet the actual man of my dreams. And so we get there, we're at the bar. He was doing the premiere there, and we didn't realize that was the exact bar that he was going to be at. So I, lost my shit. Let's just say that I was losing it. So I, he was serving drinks to the people, and they had this whole, like, he got up on stage and, well, they did karaoke, and they had Friends in Low Places by Garth Brooks playing. I don't know if you're a country fan. I'm not particularly a country music fan, but everybody knows that song.
I do know that song, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short with that, my husband was like, go over there. Like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, okay. And so Bruce basically picked me up, like he's standing on top of the bar, and he actually was able to like pick me up, and he like grabbed my thigh because that's where I have the tattoo of him at. And he was just like hit me with his butt, and we were dancing. It was great.
Ah,
Yeah,
that,
so
that sounds amazing. See,
it
one of
was
the things
amazing.
we don't get very many cons over here at all. We get a scattering. They're starting to get a little bit more over here, but over here you're looking at traveling.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So
See, I can drive a couple of hours, maybe less than that sometimes, because me being in the US, of course, they have cons everywhere.
yeah,
Like they're easy to get to. So yeah, I mean, there's a million reasons why I really love, the entire trilogy, but Bruce Campbell is definitely one of the, top
Bruce Campbell's
reasons.
one of the main reasons.
He is
I
so handsome,
uh,
even though he's
to
older.
to be
Oh,
fair, even now, even in Ash versus the Evil Dead, he is
yeah.
still a really, really handsome man, and I'm not afraid to say I appreciate a
No.
handsome man, and he really has
Yes.
got especially when he was younger, that chiseled jawline, and
Ah, love
he,
it.
I think in Evil Dead he done an incredible job of delivering something that was. His acting was almost so hammy it become really,
Hmm.
really good. There's parts, especially in Evil Dead 2, where I'm watching it going, oh, come on, really? And then the more
Yeah.
he carries on doing the same thing, you go, actually, you've really nailed that now. You've pushed it so far past the point of it being a joke. It's actually become a really serious piece of acting. And I thought he was great in it.
I do too, and I agree with you on that. That's the thing that I guess you know, for the people that don't really, I say, appreciate or really enjoy the franchise in this with the Evil Deads. They say, oh well, Bruce, he's a terrible actor, but this is my opinion on it. He may be a terrible actor per standards, but he is the best actor for these types of movies, and they could have not ever picked a better character to play Ash Williams than Bruce
I,
Campbell.
I completely agree. And he took
Never.
that role and he owned it.
Oh gosh, yes.
Uh,
And I
and
mean,
I
he
don't
is cheesy.
He is, and openly admits that himself. I've seen him
Hmm.
interviewed where he goes, "Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. So if that's what you
Yep.
saw, that's what I went for. So I delivered it perfectly."
Exactly. Exactly. So that's my thing, like I said. But it's a fantastic movie. It's not a scary movie in the sense that it brings like fear. It's not that type of a horror film, but it kind of gives you like laughter. It's very slapstick. There are some like, ooh, creepy parts, but it's not inherently
No,
scary.
there are some creepy parts, and there was still a
Yeah.
couple of bits that made me jump when I was taking notes, and I kind of knew what was coming. But you probably
Yeah.
do the same when you're half paying attention because you're
Hmm.
writing notes and you're watching, and you know something's coming, and you're about to write it down, and
Yeah.
then it gets you. It's like, oh, damn, I knew that was happening, and it still got me.
I will say though, I'm pretty infamous for not jumping very often during jump scenes because I know a lot of people in a lot of horror films that they make these days, that's what they base the movie off of.
Yeah,
Is, let's see how many jump scares we can put into this film because the film is not that great, but we need some substance.
yeah.
And for me, a quick example was that I went and seen the new Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It. Okay, I can call a jump scene with my eyes closed. I told my friend, I said, there's a jump scene about to happen. She's like, how do you know? I'm like, watch. Three, two, one, boom, jump scene. And she jumped and I just sat there and I started kind of giggling and she's like, "How are you not scared?" I was like, "Honey, I grew up on horror. Been
Uh,
watching it since I was 5."
yeah,
So,
I
doesn't scare
with
me.
it, do you know horror as a general doesn't. Every now and then something will get me, and I
Yeah.
tend to find now I've got older, the
Mhm.
films that tend to get me are things that were made a long time ago. So things from
Yeah.
the late 70s into the 80s. I
Mhm.
find them a lot scarier than modern horror because modern horror now
It's
it,
CGI.
it's CGI and it's purely a story based around cheap jump
Mhm.
scares, and that's all they are now.
Yep.
There's nothing that's got any real deep substance. I think probably the best modern horror I've seen recently was A Quiet Place 2.
Oh yeah. I saw the first one. I have not gone to see the second one yet.
It is definitely worth a watch.
Oh,
Definitely.
it has John Krasinski in it. So I'm a big Office fan.
Oh,
So
okay.
yes. No, now not the UK version. Wasn't a fan, and I'll even have some friends that are from the UK or people that I chat with or have connected with, and they'll say the same thing. They say, no, the US version was definitely it was almost like, okay, UK did it, and then the US did this version with, Steve Carell in it. Is
Yeah,
just he's great.
I,
So
I I like Steve Carell. Do you know? I'd like to see Steve Carell in a horror.
yeah, that would be very interesting because, if you've seen a lot of his movies, he's in things like, Ron Burgundy, Anchorman, which of course he's ridiculous in that movie. He's so
Yeah,
goofy. And then we have Dan, Dan in real life. It's a really good movie. It's more serious. And then we have, I think it's Beautiful Boy. And it's basically like it's based on a true story of a son and a father who the son had a very bad drug problem and the father just wanted to save him. But it's very tender, very sweet. You see Steve Carell playing this very, very serious character. And
yeah,
it's great. It's great. But yeah, that would be very interesting to see him convey over to something other than a drama, because that's about as
yeah,
serious as you get with him.
yeah. I'd like to see. He could be the new Freddy.
Yeah, he could
That's
be. Oh, don't get me started on the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Oh,
no, I won't. I reviewed the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
I know. I listened to it. And I was like, oh, well, you liked it, right? You enjoyed it.
If you remove it completely from the original franchise and make it its own
Hmm.
movie about a really nasty Freddy, yes, it
Yeah.
will. If you
Well,
try
yeah.
and tie any way back to the originals and try and make a comparison, it's terrible.
Well,
As a
it's the guy playing Freddy. I'm sorry. I think like it's what's his name?
Jackie Early,
Yes. Not nothing against him, but it's like they make a lot of memes about it, and I think one of the funniest ones is like the Freddy you thought you ordered, the Freddy you get like from wish.com. And it's really relevant because he's so ridiculously goofy looking. And I
yeah,
get it that they go into the pedophilic, side of the story that you don't really get in the original.
yeah, and
Um,
I can't. I kind of got that they wanted to try and make it darker and nastier, but
mhm,
for me, because you're comparing it to Robert England and the original Freddy, and
exactly.
it just didn't hold up. It didn't hold up as a comparison. As a standalone on its own, I thought it was good. As soon as you put it in
Hmm.
comparison with any of the originals, even the later ones, it wasn't on par.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I'll be honest, my favorite of the franchise, well, one of my top favorites is actually A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. That one gets a lot of shit for the whole, the homosexual in innuendos or whatever. But it's like, come on, it's so silly, but it's fantastic. I actually have a tattoo of that, like in honor of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2.
Oh, really? Oh,
So
wow.
yeah. Because I like Mark Patton, who plays Jesse in
Yeah,
Part 2. Yeah, he's
yeah.
great.
No,
We're Facebook friends, so
I like. Going back onto the Evil Dead. So
okay,
I know you love it, and you've got a
I do.
borderline unhealthy obsession with Bruce Campbell.
Yes, I
Um,
do.
if you could change anything about the Evil Dead 2, what would you have
Hmm.
changed?
I think for me, the way that Evil Dead 2 ended. So, we get into the first Evil Dead real quick. Okay. That is a different movie, of course. And I think I even put it kind of down as in my notes a little bit, but I'll go a little into it. So a lot of people think that Evil Dead 2 is supposed to be a remake, which is crazy. Like I've read articles about it, I've read a lot of information, and it's a sequel. So the way that Evil Dead 2 ends, and that he basically gets shot into this medieval time portal. See, I didn't care for that because I don't necessarily care too much for Army of Darkness. I feel like they went a totally different direction, giving you this in I mean, Army of Darkness is like an entirely different movie.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't really stick with the whole as much with the Necronomicon, and you don't have. I mean, you have some silly parts, and that's where Ash starts to become even more goofy, and you get a lot more of your one-liners and the "Give me some sugar, baby," stuff like that. But I don't care for the ending. That would be one thing that I wish that they would have changed, and I wish they would have conveyed it to follow a Evil Dead 3 and maybe tried to up Evil Dead 2 and just kept it in the cabin. Honestly, just
Yeah.
let's keep it in the cabin. Let's have some of the friends come back, from the original Evil Dead. Like, let's let them have them come back and like terrorize him again.
Yeah, I think that would
Yeah.
be good. And we've got Evil Dead Rises now in the works.
Oh wow. Yeah. I did see that. I was reading that.
Um,
Actually, people send me stuff about Bruce Campbell all the time. So
so, Evil Dead Rise at the moment, that they've not confirmed if Bruce is going to be in it. He's involved
mhm,
as I believe he's a producer at the moment and
mhm.
part of the writing team. But I honestly can't see him not reprising his role.
Yeah, that would be sad if he didn't. And if they use somebody else, I'm sorry, it's not gonna be as good as far as that goes because even when he came out with Ash versus Evil Dead, again, I own the box set. Like I have all the seasons. I thought it was fantastic. It was just such
Yeah.
a great show. And so you still get that Ash Williams character, though he's older and he just doesn't give a shit about anything. That's
No,
why I like him.
what I'd like them to do, I don't know what their plans. There's really not much information on it. I'd like them to tie the new Evil Dead franchise into the
Uh-huh.
old.
Yeah,
I'd like
absolutely.
them to bring the Ash character in with the characters from
Hmm.
the remake, and
Yep.
I think that would push it to a much bigger audience because there's so many people who loved the remake, and there's so many fans of the original. I think if you brought the two together,
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
create something really, really different.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. The remake, even though of course it doesn't have Bruce Campbell, but there are a lot of nods. Some of the kill scenes when the girl, the blonde headed girl, she's in the kitchen and her hand becomes basically infected or possessed, right? And
Yeah,
she's trying to cut her hand off with the knife.
yeah,
And that scene in the kitchen, they basically took from the original where he's, in the kitchen trying to, or no, part two. Sorry, part two.
yeah. No,
He's trying
part
to
two.
cut
Yeah,
it. Yeah, trying to cut his hand off. So they use that as a nod to him, and he actually approved the remake because at the very end, I saw it in theaters. So at the very end, after the credits, you see Bruce's face kind of like shadowy, and he just goes, groovy. It is so great. I love it. So he actually liked that they remade it, even though they dealt with Mia, this other character, and her friends. It still kind of held the substance together to, the cabin in the woods. Everybody's getting possessed. Everybody is getting chopped up and killed, and it's so gory. And I loved it. I like gore though, so
yeah. I did the very last scene with
so
the
bloody.
chainsaw. There's so much blood,
I love
so
it. I love
so
it.
so much.
Yes. It's so good though. It's so good. I prefer that over like jump scares.
Yeah, oh
So,
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
yeah.
I do as well. Um,
Mhm.
an important question to ask you: what wine have you got?
Okay, so for today's episode, I am actually drinking it's called Jammy Red Rue. It's a yellowtail. So I think it's like an Australian wine. I'm not really 100% sure. Look, I don't judge my wines because I like wine so much. I basically each week, I'll go to the supermarket or to the store and I make sure to find a new wine to try. Well, this one I haven't done for my podcast yet. I have had it in the past, just I haven't drank it while doing my podcast. But it's got sweetness to it. But the most important thing is it will get you as drunk as the Necronomicon.
So, what percentage is the wine you're drinking?
Okay, so it's about 10.5, 11% alcohol by volume. Um, that's honestly for a $6 bottle of wine. That's pretty high. So that's what I'm saying. It's going to get you drunk. You're going to say a bunch of crazy shit. You're going to just feel it and it's fine. But it also makes you super sleepy. So if you won't, red wine makes me tired. It always.
And your afternoon drinking there as well. So,
Yes, I am. It's 2:24 here. But hey, you know
uh,
what? Anybody that listens to my podcast, they know I drink during the
uh,
day. I don't have anything else to do today. I'm totally fine. So
uh,
I can do whatever I want. No kids are here.
while we're talking about your podcast, do you want to tell my listeners a little bit about your show? Because obviously I know a lot because I listen, but my
Yeah,
listeners
yeah.
don't know anything.
Yeah. Okay, so my name is Heather. I actually host. I'm the only host of the podcast, my podcast, Wednesday Wine and Horror. So basically, what I do is I review the movie of my choice from beginning to end. I kind of shit talk it, I rant, I give my review, I do the kill scenes. And I also started adding in where I do a little bit of a wine rating review, kind of introduce the wine. And then at the end of it, we do kind of a movie review overall. So I'll kind of tell you how I feel about the movie overall. And also a what did we learn section. Because, I'm like, I feel like my listeners, they need to learn something. There's always a lesson in all of these movies. And that's basically the gist of my podcast. Uh, I am actually about to take a small break though, because I'll be going out of state next week. And I want to take some time off to revamp for season two.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I want to change it. There's going to be a few changes made, which of course I'm going to post all of that on Instagram and let everybody know. But for the listeners that listen to your show, they'll hear it first. I just want to come back with something a little stronger. And I'm putting some ideas together right now. Might even do some new artwork for my logos. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, that's
So,
fantastic.
yeah.
Well,
But I mean, I'm actually co hosting as well with another podcast. So, in the meantime, for the people, when I take a break, I will still be podcasting, just not on my podcast for a few weeks. I'm actually co-hosting with Mike. It's Mike King. He does the Graveyard Shift Horror Podcast.
which
So
I've
if
also listened to and I enjoy.
yes, yeah, he's great. Well, I've been on 9, 10 episodes of his show. Well, the later episodes, of course. We met up about I think it was like the end of last year. And it was like right before I decided to start doing my podcast. And then we became Facebook friends. And he asked me to do like a little guest, appearance on his show. And from there, we just kind of built a really good friendship. And basically, there you go. That's it.
Yeah, and it's one of those. I think people who aren't in the podcasting community have this image that we're all sort of out for ourselves and trying to make ours the biggest podcast. I don't think people realize how much of a
Yeah,
community the podcast community is,
it
because
is.
we all work together and we all help each other, and that goes for the bigger shows as well. We'll also help
Yeah.
the smaller shows, and I found that with pretty much everyone I've spoken to who's got a podcast, everyone's happy to give advice and help each other out, which I don't think happens in many other types of media.
I don't either, and I will tell you too. You primarily do your podcast alone. With the exception of you having guests, and I have had Mike, on my show. I've also had Eric Hyde, who does Two Bearded Losers podcast. He does it. He has a friend. He and his friend do that podcast. I think you can find them on YouTube. Actually, they do a video
Okay.
podcast.
I'm not a video yet. No, I avoid
Yeah,
video.
well, me neither because the whole work of doing the edits and that editing video is to me probably more difficult than just fixing some audio. So I haven't got into that avenue either. But yeah, I mean, it's really hard to be a solo host of your own show because it's hard and it's rewarding because you basically get to control everything, but you also don't have that person to kind of feed off of. One person says this, well, you can say that, and then you start to build this conversation,
Yeah, exactly.
and
When
it
you're on
works
your own,
better.
you don't have that on your own.
Yeah, you're just
Um,
talking to yourself. So,
exactly.
yeah.
We're going to round off Evil Dead with your score. So you can score it however you want. How would you score Evil Dead?
All right. I had to think about this because I said, do I give Evil Dead? Do we do like I'm more of the, 5 out of 5 or the 1 out of 5, on a 5 scale. So
Okay.
of course I gave this movie 5 out of 5 chainsaw hands because it's fantastic. What more do I need to tell you guys? Like I'm telling you, this movie's great. If you haven't seen it, just open your mind up to the fact that you're not going to see an actual horror film. You're going to see something that is going to give you a lot of laughs, but it's such a cult classic. See, it's almost like you have to watch it.
I would agree with that. And
Yes.
if you could tell my listeners one thing that we've learnt from it, which you do on your show, what would you say that we've learnt from Evil Dead 2?
Well, this is this is going to be one of my biggest lessons because this involves all of the Evil Dead, the whole trilogy. If you have some friends, that are like, "Hey, let's go out to this deserted cabin." Don't do it.
No.
Don't do it. Let me tell you something. Deserted cabin equals death. Camping in the middle of the woods equals death. And if you've listened to my podcast, you know how much I have ranted about how much I hate camping. I'm not an outdoorsy person. That's
I
not my
have.
thing.
No, it's definitely not. You pretty much every episode where you've got anything that revolves around a cabin, you're like,
Yes.
why the fuck are you going? What's wrong with you?
That's my thing. Like I get it. Like I'm okay being in a cabin, but you are literally in the cabin that looks like the house that Jack built. It's
Yeah.
about to fall apart, and you think you're going to be safe there? Safe there? I don't think so.
No. Okay. What we're going to do now, we've had a question come in from one of our
Okay.
listeners for you.
Alrighty.
So are you happy to answer the question from the guest?
I am.
Ask the guest. The question this week is coming from Ivan Sinker on Instagram. The question coming in Spanish, so I've done my best translation I can do.
Okay.
And the translation is, what are your thoughts on the Lost Boys franchise?
Okay. Oh, the entire franchise.
Mm.
Okay. I'll be honest, Ivan. So sorry if I disappoint with my answer, but I have only seen the original, like the actual original Lost Boys, because when I did some research and some reading, I like to actually go and do a little bit of background check on my movies sometimes before I watch them, because I already knew that when they tried to revamp or redo or add, you can't fuck with a classic and you need to leave it alone. That's my thing. The Lost Boys is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
one of my favorite vampire films. And yeah, I know there's like, tons of other vampire. Fright Night, Interview with a Vampire. Those are great. But it's the whole glam feel of the 80s for me when you
I,
watch this movie.
I personally love the Lost Boys.
I love it.
I have unfortunately watched the sequels.
So you can answer that part then, because
Uh,
I saw it and I said, oh, I don't think I can watch these. I know they're going to be pretty bad.
so see, I'm happy to answer that. So the Lost Boys franchise ended at the Lost Boys. Beyond that, just don't
Hmm.
even bother. It's so I, I say it's so bad that there's lots of bits in there where you kind of go, oh, that's kind of sweet. They've nodded back to the
Yeah.
original, but you're looking at it and going, it's just such poor quality and such low budget, and whoever wrote them didn't really know what they were writing. I think they just went, we need to make another one and put the Lost Boys on it because it'll make us lots of money. And
Yeah,
that
they
was,
just used that franchise to gain some notoriety and some cash. Like that's what they did. That's what
yeah.
all remakes or sequels or whatever, that's what they do. They don't take a nod to the original most of the time. It's almost like this satire thing that happens. You're like, what?
Yeah, no, I think what I find frustrating, especially with sequels, is they tend to ignore a lot of the kind of an original film will set out almost like a set of rules that movie or
Hmm.
that universe runs on. And when they come to doing a sequel, in a lot of sequels, they'll completely ignore the rules that they set out in the first one and just do their own thing just because they wanted to make a sequel. And that's one of my pet hates.
Oh yeah, like I can't stand that. That's what I'm saying. Uh, you have this really great film, this first one, and sometimes you even think to yourself, why did they even make a sequel? I get it. Sometimes they end and it has you kind of scratching your head, or you might think, oh, there should be a sequel. And okay, maybe make a sequel. Don't start going into a trilogy. Please don't put Corey fucking Feldman in any more of your films because he's insane now. Okay, he worked for the original,
Yeah.
but funny thing is, he did this whole music thing, or I think he had a band or something. I can't even remember. Well, I live in Louisiana and I live in the northern part of Louisiana. So we had this bar that they host live music events. Crazy enough, Corey Feldman and his whatever the band was, they were going to come to like where I live. He got pulled over and arrested before he even got into town.
Oh, that
Yeah,
doesn't
it
surprise
made the
me.
news. Yeah, it made the news here. We were all laughing. I was like, it's Corey Feldman.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on.
Thing is, if any policeman pulled over Corey Feldman, they must just smile as soon as they see who it is. It must
Or
just
if
be
they
a
even
yes.
recognize him. If they
Well,
even recognize.
that is very true. Um, are you ready to have a crack at the quiz?
I am. I hope I do a good job because, like I mentioned earlier on when we were having a little conversation, I don't test very well. So let's do it. You know what? If I fail it, I still have my wine, and
Well,
there we go.
at the moment, the person top in the leaderboard is Bruce, who I interviewed yesterday, and he's got a score of 13. Um,
Oh,
so the 13 is the score to beat. So right, well, let's
all
do it. Let's
right.
jump straight into it. So here we go. Horror, not horror. The way it works, there are 10 questions. They're
Okay.
10 movie quotes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as this week it was accepted. I can't even speak. As this week it was acceptable in the 80s. All of the movies are from the 80s.
Oh gosh. See,
Um,
this is putting on the pressure that I should do really well on this because that's basically what I do my podcast on, or 80s, early 90s. Okay. Oh,
um,
here we go.
for the first point, you need to tell me if the quote is from a horror movie or not from a horror movie.
Okay.
And then you get an additional point if you can tell me what movie it's from.
Oh God.
So
Okay.
there's 10 questions at a maximum of 20 points.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Okay, so let's fire away. The first quote, snakes, why did it have to be snakes?
Oh God. Not horror.
It's not a horror. Do you know what it's from?
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? I don't. That one's
Uh,
kind of that's kind of tricking me up.
you're going to kick yourself. It was from Indiana Jones.
God. I've actually seen that too. See, I knew it was not horror, but okay. So what is that? 1 point for me?
That's 1 point. Yeah, you've got one
Okay.
point. So
All right.
number two, um, hey, what do you say we have some champagne, huh, baby?
Oh, that's horror,
It is horror.
and that's from The Evil Dead 2.
It is. I, I think you'd have been quite upset had you not got that one.
Oh, I knew. I say that all the time to my husband. I'll be like, "You're a man and I'm a woman." At least last time I checked. I love it.
Number three, call that a knife. That's a knife.
Call that a knife. That's a knife. God, I'm gonna say not horror.
It's not horror.
Okay. Uh, Oh God, you're gonna trick me up on these movies. For if they're not horror related, it's gonna be I think almost harder for me. Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
That one was Crocodile Dundee.
God, of course you picked. Damn it, crikey.
Number 4, Death by Stereo.
Oh God. Uh, is that horror?
It is horror.
Oh my God. Uh, how long do I have to? Uh,
Not long enough for you to Google it.
no, I'm not. I don't even have my computer with me. Oh my God. Help me. I. Okay, Death by Stereo. Death by Stereo. Wait a minute. Is it the Lost Boys?
It is The Lost Boys. Question number 5.
Okay.
Stephanie, reassemble.
Stephanie Reassemble. I'm gonna say not horror.
It's not a horror.
Okay. Oh God. Uh I don't know.
Um,
If it's not horror, then I don't know. Basically,
okay, that was from Short Circuit.
I haven't seen that movie in 20 years.
No, nor have I. Right, next one. Get away from her, you bitch.
That's horror.
It is.
Oh God. Get away from her, you bitch. I wanted to say Evil Dead 2, but I feel like I don't know.
Okay, that was from Aliens. It was Ripley talking to the alien
Oh.
queen.
Oh, that's right. That's Sigourney Weaver's character.
That's it. Yeah.
See, shit.
They're really hard.
These are hard.
It's one of those things that if you watch the movie straight away, you'd know it, and some of them
Mhm.
you'll recognise, but putting the all together is quite difficult. Right, you got 4 left. So number 7, they drew first blood, not me.
All right, so that's horror.
No, it's not.
Oh shit.
That
Okay.
was from Rambo.
Oh, you know what? You would really got me on that because I've actually never seen all of Rambo, so I wouldn't have known that.
Oh,
That's
okay.
and action movies are not really in my forte. I'm actually that's the genre I don't watch very often.
Okay.
So you got me. You're getting me good.
Well, you're still doing okay. So you've got 7, 5, 6, yeah, 7 points. No, you haven't. You've got
Hmm.
8 points. Sorry,
Okay.
8 points and 3 questions to go. So you can still quite easily take the top spot.
Well, we'll see.
So the next one is: have you ever danced with the devil by the pale moonlight?
Oh God. Uh, that's not horror.
It's not horror.
Okay, now I have to try to think of the movie in about 5 seconds. I feel like I know it. Like I swear, I feel like it's in my head.
It will definitely be in your head. I guarantee. We're the same age, and I'm pretty sure this would have been well. This movie was ginormous when we were in our
Oh my God. So okay,
early
when we
teens.
were in our teens. Okay, so it's not horror. I'm not to as to waste any more time. I can't guess it. Like as soon as you tell me though, I'm gonna be mad.
It was Batman. It was Jack Nicholson.
God. See? I
Right.
know I've heard it. I've heard it several times, and in my head, I'm thinking, well, of course, I haven't seen Batman in forever.
No.
So there we go.
Number 9. I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Uh, not horror.
It's not a horror.
Okay. God, these. I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way. Man, you are a tough cookie. I don't know.
It was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Fuck. I'm glad I can say fuck on this podcast because
Yeah.
oh my gosh, come
The,
on.
the thing is, it's as soon as I say what film it is,
I
instantly you
know
can
it.
see the scene.
And I have that on VHS. That's how that shows my age. Yes, I have it on VHS. Okay,
Okay,
fine.
final one. Question 10. Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Horror.
It is a horror.
Oh God, now I have to think of it. And you said it's going to be in the 80s.
Yeah.
God, I I really don't know.
You
I would.
you've posted about this movie not that long ago.
Oh shit! I was like, I can't check my Instagram. I don't know. Um,
I
it's
don't
not.
think
Is
you've
it
reviewed it.
Silence of the Lambs? No.
No, it wasn't. It was from Hellraiser.
Oh God, I fucking hate that movie. Look, if my friend Mike, I'm going to tell him to listen to this podcast. Um, you know, because I do like your podcast a whole lot. I'm going to say, guess what? I lost on a Hellraiser question. I wonder why? Because the Cenobites are still after me. We just did a movie review. We just did a review for Pride Month on the Hellraiser. Oh,
Yeah, I saw that on your Instagram, which is the reason that I picked that quote. 'Cause I
of
thought,
course. Well, see, I post such crazy shit. Sometimes I'm posting funny stuff. Sometimes it's horror related. Sometimes it's pictures of my face and my one best friend because I don't really generally like people. Um, so there you go. But yeah, I just didn't enjoy that movie. It was hard for me to watch it, and then to have to do an hour and a half podcast on it. Me and Mike both agreed, absurd.
yeah,
So
it's a hard movie to watch. And again,
it's just.
it sits in that area of you either love it or you hate it. I
Mhm.
speak to some people on Instagram who absolutely love Hellraiser, love all of the Hellraisers,
Yeah, me too. Me too.
but it doesn't do it for me
Mm-mm.
at all. Score. So you scored a grand total of 11, which puts you in joint second place with
Okay.
Lisa and with Movie Man Jason. So
Okay.
three people have scored 11 and are in second. So it's not bad. It seems to be that 11 is kind of the average,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is good. And then we had Bruce who scored 13, which was phenomenal.
He just he just barely beat me. 2 is like, come on, Bruce. I
Yeah.
love Bruce Campbell. Do you look like Bruce Campbell? I don't know. I'll have to go and creep you out. Go see what you look like. Um,
Go and follow Bruce. Bruce is definitely a chiseled man. I will give Bruce
oh,
that. He's
there we go then. Well, so is my husband. Actually, if you've looked at any of my Instagram posts or you've seen, I think there are some pictures of my husband. I primarily like to keep it a little bit like unfamily related, just because it's for the podcast. Because I do have a personal page, but I think there's pictures of him, and when he's clean shaven, he looks oddly similar to Bruce Campbell. I'll have to like send you a picture. Like seriously, it's funny because I used to call him Bruce. I said, "Well, I'm actually getting to marry my Louisiana version of Bruce."
So you did get Bruce. You got Bruce Campbell in the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, sure, he'll work. I love him. It'll work. I really still, and he's younger than me, so that's kind of funny. He's like four years younger than I am, and I know that the real Bruce is he's getting up there. So, but I still love him. I don't care. I don't care.
Groovy.
Thank you for coming on the show. I can't
Yeah,
thank you enough. I'm chuffed that you come on. I was so pleased when you picked Evil Dead 2.
yeah.
But it was acceptable in the 80s week. I don't think there is another movie that could have fitted this week any better.
I don't
Uh,
either. I mean, it's the epitome of the '80s for sure. It's definitely up there.
yeah, I mean, when you watch this movie, even the opening credits, the
Hmm.
style in which it was filmed, the clothing that they're wearing, you could show this to anybody and say, what decade is it from? And there would
Like,
be no debate. There'd be no question. It would be, it's
yeah,
from the 1980s.
exactly, exactly. Love
Um,
it.
Before I say thank yous to everyone else who's been involved in the show, I have got one more question to ask you.
Okay.
What is the score for your wine?
Oh, okay. So my wine score, I've actually gave it 4 out of 5 fruit cellars, because Henrietta in Evil Dead 2, when you go down to her fruit cellar, she'll swallow your soul, and I have no problem swallowing this wine. It's like I said, It's got a nice little fruity flavor, and it gets the job done.
And you can't ask for any more than that.
No, that's all I need. Like, I love wine. Obviously, I named my podcast after it, so I really enjoy it.
I was going to ask you, actually, it's Wednesday Wine and Horror. I get the wine and I get the horror. Why is it called Wednesday?
Wednesday. Okay, because I did a little research, when I first decided to start the podcast, with COVID and all the other bullshit that was going on last year and everything. I had always wanted to do a podcast. Actually, I said, you know what? Let me research what is the best day of the week to put out a podcast. Like, when would you get the most listeners? And Wednesday was the winner.
Oh, okay. Oh, that makes perfect sense.
So I try to record. I record, of course, days before and put it out for Wednesday at 12 o'clock, and there you go. So that's it.
Okay, fantastic. Right,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to thank. So I've got a thank you to both of our sponsors, Shockwheelz and I Love Fancy Dress. Thank you very much for everything you do for the show. A huge thank you to Madman Audio, who provided all of the music for this episode, apart from Wednesday Wine and Horrors music, which was provided by Heather. Next week we've got a really fun-packed week, but I'm not going to tell you about it now. I'm going to save that for Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else we are to tell you all about that. Don't forget, you can involved in the show with the 3-word review. You can DM us a question on any of our social medias any of the time. We're at Home of Halloween on all 3. You can also send us a voice message at Anchor. Sorry, not at Anchor. Anchor.fm/Home of Halloween. Record us a message, anything you want it to be, and we will give that a play on the air as well. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much, Heather, for coming on.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime. And if you ever, need another crazy Southern host, co-host for the day, let me know. I'm always down.
Oh, I definitely will. Thank you very much, and goodbye to everyone.
All right, goodbye.
You want to die tonight?